There we go. That's better.
You're doing funny, wacky angles.
Afraid so. Trying to be trendy. When did you first hear of our illustrious hero, Mr. Otway?
Well, a director called Derek Burbage told me about him because we were doing a documentary called Swank, I think it was, and we needed somebody cheap and talentless to do the music, and Derek Burbage said he knew exactly the bloke, and that was John Otway. There was one piece of music that he wrote that was fairly listenable to, which went with a whole piece about the Glasgow School of Art. It's quite a sort of operatic piece that he wrote. Sadly, he sung it, which ruined the whole thing. But yeah, that's when I met him and worked with him a little bit on that. We had him on the show as well, occasionally doing things, because if we had anything totally humiliating that no self-respecting human being would do, then John would do those pieces.
Did you ever see John perform?
Yes, I have seen him perform. The reasons I've seen him perform is not because I was willing to go to his gigs at all, but because if you ever get anywhere near John Otway, he decides to send you maybe 5-6 newsletters a year about his life, which his life, it seems to me, is supremely dull. And he obviously doesn't have any friends because he has to elicit friends by sending you information in the post. And really you feel beholden to go to at least one gig every 2 years because he sent you so many trees in the post full of information of what he's up to, as if anybody is interested.
When was the first time you managed to see him without him, before he collared you in these databases?
I think I saw him at the Edinburgh Festival doing the drums thing, where I'm sure you know, he strapped a lot of electronic drums to his body and rolled about on the floor, and thought that was clever. Personally, I thought it was the sort of thing a child could do, but John seems to have made a career out of it.
Have you seen him bash his head against the microphone?
Yes, I have seen him bash his head against a microphone, and actually he's very good at that. Luckily he has no brains, so actually hitting a hard object with his head is not a problem for John.
How would you describe John's appearance when you first saw him?
He is physically repulsive, and one of the games that you can play when you go to a John Otway concert is the Let's Not Throw Up When John Otway Comes on Stage game, which most of his audience play. And I've succeeded in winning many times because I haven't thrown up yet at the sight of him. When he takes his shirt off, especially when he's very sweaty, that takes some control because he's a poor physical specimen. I'm surprised he's alive, really.
Did he act?
He tried to act, but unfortunately he can't. We gave him many chances. But John is an appalling actor, and frankly we had to get other people that were better in the end.
But you did use his music.
Yes, I mean, as I say, the Glasgow School of Art piece of music was virtually the only really a good piece. The rest of it was sort of incidental music, quite a lot of which I've heard in lifts since, and funnily enough that's where it seems appropriate.
Did he write any lyrics for
Yes, he did write what he calls lyrics. I think they're just things he's got out of Christmas crackers or something that he puts to music. He's not a gifted poet, let's put it that way.
When was the last time you, I suppose loosely since the word, acted with John? Or tried to act?
I have refused to act with him ever since Scoff and Swank. And that's why I've had a career and John hasn't. There was talk originally of a double act called French and Otway, and I couldn't see it myself. He desperately wanted to get in on the comedy circuit, and I think it was a way for him to have friends, but hasn't really worked out. Nobody likes John very much. That's the sad truth.
Do you have a favourite song? I know that it's probably not the case.
Well, of course, it's very easy to remember John by his fantastic commercials. Our White's Lemonade, of course, is an old favourite, and hello, John got a Toshiba. Hello, Tosh got a Toshiba. Something like that. You know, that's what you remember him for, which is sad, really.
Did you ever see the Iron Brew commercial? Where basically
Iron Brew, yes, I did. Oh dear.
Would you consider John, number 27 in the charts he got to, a one-hit wonder?
What was that hit again?
Core Baby.
That's really free. That's right. Core Baby. That's really free. Yeah. Yes. He got to number 20. What?
7.
To number 27 with that. Right. Amazed it didn't go further. Amazed.
He was paid an enormous sum in those days, 20 years ago, of £250,000, which was a lot more than the Jam, who was signed to Polydor at the same time. If you were a record executive, do you think you would be out of the business by now?
Well, I mean, the stark fact of the matter is that John was given £250,000, and as far as we know, he used this to buy girlfriends and sexual favours, because obviously John, being loathsome physically, doesn't find it easy to get girlfriends or any friends. And so I think, I'm not sure about this, but I think he squandered all of that amount on buying friendship and company in his lonely days. And of course, when that money ran out, so did the friends.
If there is a talent that John has, what do you feel it may be?
The talent that John has, I'm gonna need to think about that. Hang on. The talent, there must be something. John's talent. God, I'm sorry, that's impossible. Do you want me to actually say the talent that John Otway's got? He can stand up. I don't know. That's about it, I think. In my mind, he's a morally unfit person. He's spiritually empty. He's a vacuous airhead. He's a loathsome creature.
When I rang you up and asked you to say a few words, kind words about John, what were your first thoughts?
Well, my first thoughts were that you can't really say kind words about John. You can be kind in the way that you be kind about, I don't know, some poor little lame dog that hangs around your house and you ought to give sausages to, just to keep them alive. That's how I feel about him.
If there was a sentence or a couple of words, perhaps, to sum him up?
Yes. Unpleasant would be one of them. Poor personal hygiene. Can I use those words? I think anyone who's been near John would agree with that. He's a toad.
If you had any advice for John, what advice would it be?
I'd advise John to get into something less visual, so that people don't have to look at him. Something like knitwear, or I don't know, some kind of cottage industry that he can do at home, and frankly, not have to bother any of us anymore, because we don't want to have to look at him.
But don't you think it's a kind of a nice thing that there is people like John where you can feel sorry for them in your profession?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it is good to have people like John around, because then you feel great about yourself. You just know that you're A, more talented, B, more attractive, C, you've got loads more dosh, and D, you've got some friends. And that just makes you feel great, because you know John hasn't got any of those things.
If you were to describe his physical appearance to somebody who hasn't seen him, how would you describe it? You've seen his body when he rips.
Yeah, streak of piss.
Is there a double act that you think John could play with?
Well, I'm certainly not going to let him play with mine, that's for sure. No, I don't know. John and perhaps Ernie Wise should get together. I don't know. He's such a loser that really, John. It's such a sad thing. I mean, really, when I think about John, Poor John, it's just been so hard for him. Because he has really tried, and he's just awful. He's talentless. Poor guy.
Would you care if you ever saw him again?
I hope I never have to see John Otway again. But as I say, he's very persistent. He's like one of those little randy dogs that, you know, gets on your leg and won't give up. And he keeps making you go to his gigs. And I saw him recently with Alexi Sale, but thank God Alexi was on, you know. So, you know, while you're watching John, you're thinking, well, somebody's going to come on soon that's got a talent to perform. You know, and most people were in the bar while he was on.
Do you feel if you were stuck in a lift or a pub, he's the sort of person you would avoid?
Yeah, if I got stuck in a lift with John, I would actually use my own razor blades to cut my wrist, rather than have to spend any time with him at all. He is the most supremely dull man you will ever meet.
The Rolling Stones have gone on for nigh on 30 years. It's been 20 years for John. Do you feel that he can carry on?
Yeah, because whilst there's still 3 people that will go to his gigs, John will keep going around the country on what he calls tours, which are tours of those 3 people's homes. You know, he'll just turn up like, you know, anybody in his family and anyone that he can persuade, you know, with all this ridiculous information he sends out to come and see him. I'm thinking of getting together a group of people who want to give up John Otway. And maybe they can meet at my house on Tuesday evenings, because there's a hell of a lot of us who've got involved in this terrible rut. It's a kind of addiction, really, that you feel you have to go. You have to support him because you've been pressurised into it by John. And I think we've got to be tougher. We don't want to go. None of us want to be there. You go to a John Otway concert and you'll find that every single person that's there, which isn't many, none of them really want to be there. They've been forced to be there.
If John had chosen another occupation
Yeah.
than trainee rock star,
Yeah.
what do you feel he might have been better at doing?
What I wish he'd done was become an astronaut, because then he could climb into a rocket and just go somewhere else, a long, long way away. And perhaps, you know, to be honest, you'd probably still be able to hear John, even if he was playing on the moon.
Have you got a final word on John?
Yeah, I'd like him to fuck off.
Can you remember your first ever professional gig?
My own one. Do you mean as a comedian or as a prostitute?
We'll go for the comedian first.
As a comedian, I did do. No, that wasn't me. For a second I thought I was in Morecambe and Wise, but that wasn't me. That was Eric Morecambe. I definitely wasn't part of Morecambe and Wise. I did do a gig at the comic strip somewhere in the 1980s that I think most people would recognise as the first professional gig, for which I was paid £4.50.
And how did you go down? You part of the profession?
I always go down well, thank you very much.
Would you sneakers in the back there. Getting slightly back to John, do you feel that probably not the best thing to say, but one of the best alternative acts, hidden acts, cult acts around?
John Otway. If you like that sort of thing, if you like watching a repulsive person throw themselves around on stage for absolutely no reason at all, just showing off a talentless, puny git, then John Otway's the person for you.
Would you consider yourself a fan?
I'm a huge fan of his, yes.